Hello, CEO here, and I wanted to make another tutorial this time to help you set up your VTuber model into VtubeStudio so you can start creating content with your avatar. So let's get started. First things first, we want to import a model into VtubeStudio. So you're gonna go ahead and click on the red icon over here. And it's gonna give you a list at the bottom. Most likely you will not have anything in there. Those are models that I've worked on. But what you want to do is click on import your own model over here to the left. This is gonna prompt a pop-up over here that tells you the path where you should be putting your VTuber model files, but you can also go ahead and open folder. That should give you a folder with all of your models that are currently imported into VtubeStudio. But what you want to do is create a brand new folder where you're gonna be able to put all of your files for your new model that you're trying to import. So we're gonna go ahead and right click, new folder. Don't forget to give it a name so you can find it easily. So for the sake of this video, we're gonna call it tutorial 2026. And then you're gonna go inside that new folder. All right, so for the sake of the demonstration, I'm gonna use my own mascot, Bloodwings, a little dragon. Just so you see how you import it. So you want to get all of your .json files. So we're going to select all of them. You can hold the control button while clicking and it's gonna select multiple. You want to have your VTuber Mach3 file. And the last thing you want to get is also the folder with all of your textures. You do not want to take the pictures out of the folder. You do not want to rename the folder. Keep it as it is. And just select the whole folder. And we're gonna go ahead and drag and drop all the files that you selected with, like I said, the texture remaining in their own separate folder inside your VTuber models. From here, we're gonna go back into VtubeStudio. I'm gonna click again on the little red icon and your model should load at the bottom. If it ever doesn't load, just click back and reopen it. And it might show up. Sometimes it takes a minute. So here's your file, just click on it. Usually it's easier to run auto setup if your rigger didn't set it up for you. So if that pop-up ever show for you, just click on auto setup. It's gonna do all of the basic parameters for you. But most likely your rigger will have done that for you. Alright, so for this next part, I'm gonna use my own VTuber model, my Fox. To show you how to set up your camera tracking and the iPhone tracking, depending on what you want to use, basically. So we're gonna go ahead and click on the little gear icon over here. That will open this tab. If you are planning to capture it with a webcam, you're gonna go into the second tab up here and click on it. And over here, Webcam Tracking, you're gonna choose the camera you want to use and all of the settings, so the dimension and blah, blah, blah. Tracking quality will depend on your CPU performance, basically. So the higher quality, the harder it's going to be on your CPU. And for tracking type, you can select only hand tracking, only face tracking, or face and hand tracking. If your model is rigged to have hand tracking, select face and hand tracking. Other than that, you can just select face tracking. For example, my model doesn't have hand tracking, so face tracking is fine. And you're going to click on camera on. I do not have a webcam hooked on my computer right now, so it's not going to work, obviously. But here you should see kind of like a stick figure of your tracking. Depending on where your camera is, your VTuber might be looking to the side or be slightly not facing forward, basically. You want to face your monitor the way you would if you were playing a game or streaming or whatever, and then click on calibrate. That's gonna tell your model that this is your neutral pose and this is your position when you're looking straight forward. So it's gonna readjust that your model is always looking straight forward when you're in that one position. And then you got some sensitivity settings that you can tweak over here. If you think your blinking is not sensitive enough or your mouth opening is not sensitive enough, you can play around with those sliders over here. But that is pretty much it for the webcam tracking. Next up, I want to show you how to connect your phone for tracking with basically your phone's camera. I personally use an iPhone. If you are planning on using an iPhone, make sure that it's Model X, which is the 10th one, or up, so Model X or above. because it absolutely requires to have a functional Face ID in order to track properly. So if you want to get all of the advantages of tracking your face with an iPhone, make sure that your frontal camera works and that Face ID is functional on the iPhone that you are working with. So we're gonna go into the first tab here, General Settings and External Connection. And you have two options when it comes to phone tracking. You can either go with Wi-Fi or with USB. The advantage of USB is your connection is more stable, but the thing with Wi-Fi, which is why I personally use Wi-Fi, is I can also plug my phone directly into the wall socket so it stays charged during my whole stream. So for this to work, you have to, we're gonna go with the Wi-Fi connection because USB is pretty straightforward. You just like plug it in. Make sure you have VtubeStudio installed on your phone. For me though, I'm using Wi-Fi, so make sure that on your VtubeStudio you have the right IP and the right port so they can connect together. So here you go. My VTuber model is being tracked by an iPhone on my desk. Next up, I would like to show you quickly how to connect through Vbridger to track on your model. Vbridger is basically an extra application that you can get. I believe it is standalone, but it's also on Steam. I have it on Steam. It basically allows a better, more precise tracking, especially for the mouth and for the eyes. So in my opinion, it is very much worth it. So check it out. And in the first tab, once again, you can see the Wi-Fi, the USB. Right next under, it's Start API, basically the plugins and the APIs menu. So you want to make sure that you have that on so Vbridger can request access to your VtubeStudio. First of all, we're going to connect the Vbridger to your phone because it requires a phone to track. You're going to tell it what tracking application you're using on your phone. For us, we're using VtubeStudio, so I put VtubeStudio. And next, you want to go onto your phone, your iPhone settings, and you want to find your phone's IP address. It's not going to be this time the IP address used by VtubeStudio. It's the IP address directly into your phone settings. Once that is done and the two IPs match, you're going to click on Connect to iPhone. And here you go. From here, my iPhone is tracking me and it's sending the information to Vbridger. As you can see, the model in VtubeStudio is not currently tracking. That's basically because we have the iPhone communicating with Vbridger, but we do not have Vbridger communicating with VtubeStudio on your computer yet. So for that, you're going to make sure that you have the right IP down there that is used by your VtubeStudio and the right port. Once again, the port is over here. For me, it's 8001. For you, it might be a little different. So make sure it matches with the little scribbling over there. And then you're gonna connect. And here you go. My model on VtubeStudio is also being tracked. Let's talk about parameters. Parameters are basically the line that tells your model what action should affect the model in what way. So for example, the parameter that is for the face going left and right, you need to tell the model art what it should be doing to go left and right. So we're gonna go into the settings. This time we're gonna go into the third one. And over here you got all of those parameters that were made from Live2D. For this example, I'm gonna show you the face left and right rotation, also called angle X. It is basically your head going left to right. The input is what your camera is seeing, and the output is what parameter it's going to affect on your model. The smoothing is, it kind of slows down and smooth the movement. So if you have no smoothing, it's kind of jaggy and stutters. While if you have a lot of smoothing, it becomes really, really slow. So I tend to keep it low, but not to zero, so you still have a good reaction speed, but it's not all jagged. Next, I want you to check out the in and out. Usually the out portion, so those two numbers, usually don't touch those. They tend to just be fine on their own. It's the in that you might have to touch from your input. that is basically the numbers that your tracking needs to reach to touch the end of a parameter. So if the parameter is telling you go all the way right, you need to make your face go right. So what the number is here, for me it's minus 35, and it goes down. So minus 30 is fine, and on this side it's 31-ish. So it takes 30 to reach 30, I'm fine. But let's say this is about the maximum that you can turn your head to. So it's only minus 20, and the maximum is set to minus 30. If you want to reach the full potential of your parameter, you can lower that to whatever number you are getting over here. Make sure to repeat it on the other side, since this is a symmetrical movement. And now you require much less movement physically to reach the extremities of that parameter. That is possibly something that you will have to tweak around for your model, because your model is currently set up to react to your rigger's face, to their tracking, to their lighting. So you want to adjust everything so it fits you and your capture. So usually when it comes to that, most people will play around with the eye open left and eye open right. Those are your two eyes, the blinking. 0 is basically when it's closed, and all the way up is when they are wide open. Usually that is 1. I keep mine at 0.7 because if I have it at 1, I feel like my eyes is a little too close on the default position. So if I lower this number, it makes my default position for my eyes a little more open. So you can tweak that to your liking. Let's go around all of the parameters that you will usually have with a model. So you got face left and right rotation, that are basically your head going left and right. You got face up and down rotation, that is your face going up and down. You got your face lead rotation, also often called angle Z, that is your head going side to side, kind of tilting. Eye open left, eye open right is your eyes closing and opening. Eye smile is the form that your eye will have when you close it, depending on if you're smiling or not. So the natural position is often a curve going down, but if you're smiling, it turns this curve up. Then we got IX and IY. IX is basically your eyeball going left and right, so looking to the sides, and your IY is going up and down. Brow height is your brows going up and down, basically. They are separated so they can be moved individually if you're physically capable to, or for expressions and toggles. You also have brow form, which is the curve, if it's going up or if it's going down. Then we got mouth smile and mouth open. Mouth smile is the shape of your mouth, so if you're frowning or smiling. And mouth open is how much your mouth opens and closes. And if you combine them, you get all of your base shapes for when you're talking. Next, we got a body rotation X. That is basically your body going side to side. Body rotation Y is your body going up and down. And body rotation Z is your body tilting left to right. In some cases, like on my model, I like to invert the body Z and the head Z. So when I tilt my head to the left, my body tilts to the right, and vice versa. It really is a matter of personal preference. So if I was to invert that so they tilt the same way, you would see my body go like this. But personally, I like when my Z's are going opposite to each other. I feel like I like the movement better, but it is a personal choice. Now we got settings and parameters for Vbridger. So if your model was rigged in function of using Vbridger, you will have additional parameters that a regular model not made for Vbridger will not have. It is, however, possible and totally doable to update a non-Vbridger model to be a Vbridger model. You just require to ask your rigger to create the extra parameters and rig them, of course. So first of all, we got mouth shrug. It's basically your mouth going ma, ma, ma. We got mouth X. That is your mouth going side to side. We got mouth funnel, which is kind of pressing your lips together to kind of do an O shape, or like if you're whistling. We got mouth press lips open. That is kind of the position you do to do a P. And it also allows you to smile with your teeth and not just open your mouth slightly. It allows you to have a little smile. Mouth pucker is kind of the extension of your mouth, either to widen it or make it narrower. And then you have jaw, that is the movement of your jaw up and down, so you can have kind of that chewing motion. And then you might have some extra parameters that your rigger may or may not have included depending on your model. Sometimes you can have add-ons like the tongue out. And I personally, with my own model, I like to link my eyebrows to my ears. So when I get my eyebrows up, it perks up my ears, and when I get them down, it makes my ears go down. So that's some extra parameter that if you have ears, I tend to do myself, but it depends on the rigger. Next thing we want to check is the expressions and toggles. So we're gonna go ahead and open the settings, and this time we're gonna go into the last tab, which is hotkey settings and expression. You're most likely gonna have either very few or an empty tab over here, depending on your rigger once again. These are all your toggles and expression. So let's say you want your arms going up, or you want to have like expressions like this. This is where you set them up. So let's say we are starting from scratch. So let's forget that there's a million ones already in there. Let's go in expression editor over here. From here, this is going to be a list of all of your expression files that are already created, but we're going to go from scratch just to show you how it works. So we're going to go and create a new expression. From here, you're going to have all of your parameters from the Live2D file. You want to make sure you do not use physics settings or physics parameters in there, because anything you activate for an expression, you're not going to be able to control with your tracking anymore. So let's say I want my head for this expression to always be looking to the right. Now, if I move my head left and right, it is not affected by my body anymore, because the expression is dictating where it should be facing if the expression is active. So anything you want to still be able to control with your face, don't touch when you're making an expression. So let's say I want to create a new expression. Give it a name. I'm gonna call it tutorial. And you're gonna go into your parameters and basically choose whatever you want your expression to do. So it always depends on your model. Let's say I want my eyebrows to be high and one low. I want my eyebrows want to be this angle, want to be this angle. I want the brows to also have some curve. So now my eyebrows cannot be controlled with my face anymore, because the toggle is basically telling it what to do for me. Let's say I also want my mouth to always be to the side. So no matter how I move my mouth, this is before, this is after, my mouth's always to the side. So it's a little silly, but this is for the sake of showing you how it works. And then I would like my eyes to be spirals. So I'm very confused. So this is the expression. I like it. We like it. Ship it. You're going to click on save. And now it's going to be added to your list of expression that you have into your file. So tutorial, it is right here. It's saying it's using 8 parameters. So we're done. From here, now you want to make sure that you can actually trigger it. So there's two ways to trigger it. First of all, we're going to go ahead and click on the plus at the bottom here to create a new hotkey. Let's call it tutorial expression. You're going to go into hotkey action over here and you're going to go on set unset expression. And in the expression, you're going to tell it what expression do you want this toggle to be for. So we're going to go ahead and click on tutorial, which is the one we just made. I'm going to select it. And now this window is to set and unset this expression in particular. So now from here, you can either have a key bind. So you press a certain key or combination of key and it's going to trigger the expression. Let's say I want it to be 1. So now when I click on 1, it does my silly face. And when I click on 1 again, it removes it. If you want to do it with a keybind, this is how you do it. And to remove the key, you just go ahead. Or you click on clear key. If you want to set it on the Streamdeck instead, it's very easy. You open your Streamdeck application. From here, you're going to make sure that you get the VtubeStudio plugin in the Elgato Marketplace. It's supposed to be free. And once that is installed on your Streamdeck, you want the trigger hotkey button. Just put that on whichever button you want. And from here, you're going to click on it. You can give it a title if you want. So let's call it tutorial. You're going to select which model you want this button to affect. So my current model loaded in is CSR 2024. And the hotkey is basically going to be the expression that you created. So we're going to go ahead. They're not in alphabetical order, which is a little annoying, but just fine. It's usually at the bottom. So we got tutorial expression in the unset ones. So here you go, tutorial expression. If your model is not showing up, just click on refresh over here. It has to say that your VTS, VtubeStudio, is connected. So now that we got the hotkey, the model set to this button, we can go back into VtubeStudio. And now I'm going to go ahead and physically press onto that button on my Streamdeck. And here you go. It's working with a button. So this is how you set up expressions, how you make them. You can make pretty much whatever you want as long as you have the parameters for it. All right, so let's talk about editing masks and colors on your model. So first of all, I would like to make sure that you actually ask your artist if they are okay with you editing the colors on your model in VtubeStudio, because some artists don't want you to touch the model and some artists don't mind it. I personally don't mind it with the models that I made, as long as you don't create like atrocities that would reflect badly on me. I think that is pretty reasonable. So we're gonna go ahead and open the menu with the settings. We're gonna go into the third model setting, the third tab, and we're gonna go all the way to the top. There is a customize model here. So you can click on that. And we can go ahead and click on customize multiply screen colors for art meshes. This one is basically gonna give you a list of all of your layers, all of the parts of your VTuber, and how you want to affect them. You gotta keep in mind that this is a mask for either multiply or a screen color. So it's not gonna change the color per se, it's just gonna slap a layer on top of it to affect the color. So a good way to show you how it works is I have light parts like my hair, I have dark parts like my wings. Let's say we want to change my hair color. You can either click on it and it's gonna give you parts that are around the area you clicked, or you can click on the little eye and it's gonna flash which parts you're trying to affect. So let's open this one. And now this is the multiply mask. So it's gonna put a color on top of it. And since my hair is white, usually it shows pretty well. So I could have like any color on it and it actually translates very well onto my model. We click on OK. This is the screen one. So the screen basically lightens your piece. So when it's all black, it doesn't do anything, and the lighter you go, the more light it puts on it. So for a darker part, to show you the difference between a light piece and a dark piece with multiply model. So let's click on the wing. My wing is naturally black. So if I want to, let's say, do the same color, what you can do is you can click on paste last multiply layer, last multiply color, and it's going to use the exact color that you used for the piece before. So this is the same green affecting different pieces. You can see that on a black piece, on a darker piece, it's going to be much darker than on a layer that is naturally very light color. So there you go. This is how you modify the colors of your model. And if you remember how we set up expressions and toggles before, instead of setting an expression, you can set up multiply and screen colors for art meshes as a toggle. So let's say I want this to be a toggle. I could register it and make it toggleable. So let's say you have a special combination for Christmas or Valentine's Day. You can actually record them and toggle them with a button if you want to. Alright, so another thing I would like to cover in this same menu, the one we use for multiply and screen color, is the exclude art mesh from item pinning. So in VtubeStudio, you can basically pin items on your model, and if, let's say, you drop the item onto your hair, it's going to move along with your hair. Same with your tail or your wing. It's going to basically, it's like a sticker. It's going to stick to it. But let's say you have a specific part or like a layer that you don't want things to be pinned on. So let's say I don't want things to be pinned on this wing. You're gonna make sure that it's gonna be unchecked. Because if it is checked, things are gonna stick to it. But if it's unchecked, things are not gonna stick to it. From here, I got a little egg here. If you want to get items, it is this green icon over there. Let's get a second egg. This is basically where, compared to your model, do you want this item to be dropped. 0 is your model. Anything in the positive is going to be in front. Anything in the negative is going to be behind the model. So let's put that one here. I believe on 18 I got my first egg. Let's put it right between that egg and my model. So I got this egg. It should go behind that other egg, but also on top of my model. So it's basically what order do you want it to be. So, like I was saying earlier, if we drop an item onto this wing, it sticks. It's like a sticker. If I was to drop it on my hair, it would stick as well. If I was to drop it on my tracks of land, it will also stick. But we did tell this wing to not be affected by items. So if I drop something on it, it does not stick because it's ignoring it. And if I drop an egg on this wing, it's gonna stick to it. So if you want to avoid pinning items on certain layers, let's say you have a big filter that is technically invisible, but your model still knows it's there. Sometimes items will try to pin on it. With this setting, you can tell them to not pin on that anymore. All right, let's check out visual effects, which is a fun thing, I think, that you can do to give a little bit more life to your model. It's going to be into the second tab, so the webcam tracking video and visual settings. You're going to scroll down a little bit, and we got two panels over there. We got the visual effects, the effects, and we got the display lighting. Let's start with the display lighting. Display lighting is basically an extra layer of light that's going to be projected onto your model that is affected by your monitor. So let's say my monitor is all pink. So you see, it's going to reflect pink light onto my model. So if what I'm looking at is yellow, it's going to reflect yellow. I do have a stream open on my second monitor. So if I choose that monitor instead, you can see the live stream. And the light projected to my model is going to depend on what is in that model. So you can see there's a lot of blue. We're starting to see more blue on my model. If it's looking at the brown, we're going to have more brown on my model. So it's affected by the lighting. So if you're playing a game, like I said, with forests and greeneries and a lot of grass, it's going to feel more like your model is into that scenery as well. Another one that I like to use is visual effects here. If we activate it, this is my basic one that I like to use for my stream. It's very subtle. We have a backlight and there's also an outline. But I'm going to show you guys how to actually create your own. So right now I canceled it, so there's nothing. This is the basic of my model. You're gonna go in, once it's activated, you're gonna go in selected effect, and you can choose between a variety of different effects, but the one that I like to use that is pretty subtle is called backlight and outline. You're gonna select it. Here, the first thing you want to do is effect on and off. You want to turn it on, but it might be a little intense, as you can see. So you can play with the settings and basically figure out what you want to do. This is where you get an easy outline around your model if you want a little more stylized look. So there's a bunch of things that you can do directly onto your VtubeStudio to do special effects to affect your model. The thing though is the more effect that you have, the harder it gets onto your computer, so make sure you don't abuse it unless you have a very good computer, because it might become a little rough and you might lose some frames. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you guys is how to properly capture your VTuber model into OBS. So let's say you want your VTuber model to be on top of your game, but you don't want to have that big black box that's around me. You're gonna go into the little change background icon over there. And by all means, you could just use a picture if you want to. But if you'd like it to be transparent, you're gonna go into color picker, the one that is marked as special. And then you're gonna make sure that you check the transparent in capture option at the bottom. A thing that I see a lot is people tend to go all the way to green for, green screens and chroma key. The thing is, yes, it is gonna work, but let's switch to OBS real quick. My model has a transparent background, but if you look closer to anything that is remotely see-through, like my skirt or my sleeve, you can see that there's some green behind it. And also, around some of the pieces, you can see there's a green outline going on. So that's not gonna do. It looks a little weird, and I don't like it. So we're gonna go back into VtubeStudio. So once again, go into the background, select the color picker, and instead of going for a color, go all the way to the bottom here and select a very dark shade of gray, almost black. And now, as you can see, anything that has transparency, like my clothes, they're fine. There is no weird outline around the model. So in general, it is much clearer and much less of a hassle to just use a dark color and simply allow transparency. The thing as well is, if you use game capture to capture your VTuber model, on OBS you want to go into the properties of your game capture and you want to make sure that you have transparency enabled. However, I would recommend that instead of capturing your VtubeStudio window with the game capture or window capture and all of that, I would recommend that instead you get the spout capture. In VtubeStudio, you're gonna find it in the second tab over here, virtual webcam config. This is where you got the spout 2 config. So you need to install it. It works basically like a plugin on your OBS. And here it is, VtubeStudio spout. What it does, it allows the transparency, but it's also much less intense onto your computer while you're streaming or recording a video. So it really saves some of your resources. So in general, I will definitely recommend using VtubeStudio spout, but I mean, obviously you can still use a regular game capture if you wish to. Alright, so that is it for me. I hope you liked this little tutorial on how to set up your VTuber model. If you have any question, feel free to let me know in the comments. There are a lot of very good tutorials around YouTube if you need more in-depth explanation, like I said, for Vbridger and all of that. But I hope that this tutorial at least covered the basics so you can start using your model. So you have a great day, and thank you for watching.